Hello and welcome to ATI 4448. In this session, we are going to learn how to add the resources and calculate the cost in Microsoft Project. To do that, let's open the example that we created for the work breakdown structure in a previous lecture. In that project, whether we call it project 1 or construction, it doesn't matter. We created the initiation, the planning, the execution, monitoring and control, and the closing processes. And within these processes, we created sub tasks or sub processes. To add the resources, we can go to View, Resource Sheet, and start adding the resources in this sheet. The resources that I'm going to add is the project manager, and then I can assign the standard rate for the project manager to be $125. As you can see here, the initials for the project manager being assigned as P, but you can change it for your own convenience to be project manager PM. So it depends. You can leave it as a default, or you can change it if you need. For the type, it's either work or material. So if you have material here involved, then as a resource, then you can add the material separately. What I'm going to do in this session, only add the people resources and calculate the cost that we studied or went through in the cost management chapter. The second one is administrative. Assistant. The rate is $45, and again you can change that abbreviation or the initial to whatever you like, and in my case I'm taking the first letter of each word in the resource name. So since I have administrative assistant, I put AA. For the third resource, it's analyzer or analyst. Whatever you want to call them, analyzer or analyst, doesn't matter. It depends on the job description. In this case, I will take the first two letters as initials for the analyst or analyzer, and the rate is $56. And then we have the accountant. And again, for convenience, I will take the first two letters or three letters just to indicate about the accountant, and the rate is $75. So I have these four resources for the project, and I will start assigning resources to tasks. So those are the resources, the initial, they are work, they are labor. I want to maximize the utilization of them. If I have more than one project, for example, if the administrative assistant is involved in more than one project, then I need to utilize only 30% of their time, not the 100% or 40%, whatever percentage. The percentage will be shared between the different projects within the organization. So now for the time being, I have only one project, so I will put 100%. If we have multiple projects, then we have to divide it to certain percentages or different percentages based on the participation of that person within the different projects. The standard rate, if they have overtime rate, and then the cost for that person if they work certain hours or they have a certain amount of money. We can also put a code for the different resources. For the time being, we leave it as is like that, and we start using the resources within the organization. To add a resource, we have two different ways, or we have many different ways actually. You can add the resource management toolbar on the top and start using that. You can use the current icons that you have on the toolbar, like assign resources. You can use Alt F10 as we have here in the shortcut keys, or you can go to tools and assign resources. So we have many ways to assign resources. One of these ways is just to go to resource name and just select from the list the resources for each task. I will go through some of them so you can learn how to do it, and then you can do it the way that you like. For the first one, I will select the analyzer to do it, and then I will select the analyzer. For this next one is project manager. Another way to do it is just to drag this one from the corner and go down, and you have project manager. So you can do it, you can assign in many ways, especially if you have a repeating resource that you are using for many tasks, then you can drag it for the rest of the tasks, because they're going to be performed by the same person. If I have two, what if I have two resources? When you go to drop down, you cannot select except one. So how can I do it? Actually, you can just click on the task and then click on assign resource like this, and you will get the dialog box for a resource assignment. In this way, you can actually do resource assignment and having more than one. For the this task, I will choose to assign two resources. So I will choose the administrative assistant and say assign. In this case, it gave me 100%, but they're not going to be performing 100% of the task. I'm going to share it with someone else. So actually, they will be performing only 30% of the task. And I will choose the analyzer to do the other 70% of the task. So now I have two persons involved in managing that task or performing that task. When you look here at the resources, you can see that I have the administrative assistant 30% and the analyzer as 70%. Then I will again add project manager, and I can drag put project manager, then go again and assign resources for this one, and just click, and I have the dialog, and I have the project manager or the accountant as 65%, while the project manager as 35%, and then close. Then I have project manager. I can select project manager, and then again I have the project manager as 40% and the analyzer as if I made a mistake like this, I can just remove and go to the analyzer and say 60%. So now I have here the project manager and the analyzer for this task. And again, we can select the project manager and drag it for the rest of tasks. Project manager, analyzer, administrative assistant, and these assignments will be decided by the project manager or the project team, management team, the functional manager, the administration. They can decide who's going to do the task and fill in the information. As a project manager, you should be able to identify the different resources for each task and the percentages for each resource. Project manager, analyzer, administrative assistant, analyzer. Then I have project manager, then I have project manager, and for this task I will choose the project manager as 20% and the accountant as 80%. Then I have the administrative assistant, accountant, project manager, and analyzer. And we're done with all the resource assignment. As you can see, the resources also been identified on the Gantt chart, so you will know when you look at the Gantt chart who's going to perform that task. Since we added the resources, now let's do a resource leveling. And to do that, we're going to go to Tools, press on Resource Leveling. Let's see. Tools, Resource Leveling. And it's going to be hour by hour, or you can do it on a day-by-day basis. It depends on what you have here. So you can do day by day or hour by hour. And you can click level now, and it will level the resources for you. Again, this is an example, so maybe you're gonna find what I did. I put random numbers, random predecessors, and assign the resources randomly, just to show you how it's been done. But that doesn't mean that this is the correct way to do it. When you are working in a project, you have to look at the different tasks, who's going to perform it, and make sure that the resource are all the resources has been leveled or have been leveled. Once we are done, we go to tools, to tracking, and set baseline, and we choose, of course, baseline for that one, and choose OK. And we are setting the baseline for the cost based on the current information that we have. Once we start executing the project, if we have 8 hours for a certain task and it took 11 hours, it will calculate the 8 hours as the baseline, and the 11 hours is the actual execution for the task, and it will calculate the cost difference based on that. So it's very important to set the baseline at a certain point or at the beginning of the project, so you will know what was the baseline, what was the estimated, what was the forecasted, and what was the actual after the completion of the project. Now let's learn how to view the earned value or the cost. So if we go view, and here we have table entry. Entry means the entry for the task or the different values or different activities that we have, their duration, the start finish, predecessors, and resource name. But we can choose to select more tables and then go by earned value, then apply, and you can see here the different columns that we were talking about, which is the planned value, the earned value, the actual value, the schedule variance, the cost variance, and the estimated at completion, the budget and completion, and the variance at completion. So we have all these values already being displayed here. Since the project is not being executed yet, we don't have values. But once you start executing the project, then you will see the different kind of variances and differences in these values that we have here. We can also add, just highlight the column, the cost variance column, and then insert and select SPI from the list and say OK, and it will add for you the schedule performance index column. Let's see if I can squish all these so you can see it. I want you to see the values here as we change. We can also add another column, which is the cost performance index. So now we have the schedule performance index, the cost performance index. I have the variances in the schedule and cost. I have the earned value planned value and the actual value, estimated at completion, budget and completion. I have all the values that we were trying to calculate. I have it already been developed by Microsoft project. So once I have the actual value, which is how much did I accomplish from the task, you will see that it will start changing as we go. So for example, if you select this task and select the percentage that's been done, and you have 100% done, then you start seeing the values changing now for the actual values. The same for the second one, for the third one. So when you start changing these values, you will see the values that's been executed. When you see the schedule either between brackets or in red, that means it's behind schedule. That's behind schedule. And of course, you know, we know the values of the schedule performance index and the cost performance index in these values, which ranges from 0 to 1. So if the actual cost here, let's say if it was 1500, let's do this one. I'm trying to move that one. Let me zoom a little bit. We can change, we can zoom in and just select 3 months. Say okay, and then I can see this one better, and I can change the percentages of how much being done. And like I said again, if it's between brackets, that means it's behind schedule or not done yet. So we can actually calculate the different values over here. Again, with having all this information about the resources, the cost, and this is just an example to give you an impression on how to utilize these values to interpret the situation of the project at a certain point, to forecast what's going to happen, to plan for any changes or any corrective actions needed, to look at the budget and schedule at a certain point. This is very important to take a decision, to take action from the project manager, and to report to the administration. This is how to use Microsoft in adding the resources and adding the cost and calculating the different cost values. If you have any questions about that, please email it to me and I will be more than glad to help. Thank you.